So changes in work function. I've just said they might not be due to Huntington's disease, and they might not, and we need to be open to that. However, if we're thinking specifically about Huntington's disease, this is why that might be the case. Cognition changes, behavioral changes, mood, mobility, movement, sensory changes, and by that I mean more sensitivity to heat, light, noise, being overwhelmed, and physical and emotional fatigue. Now this is a very similar list to what Kirsty and I have spoken about in other changes throughout the webinars, but the same still applies in HD, that all of these things affect functioning, and we need to be open to that. We're talking about adults of working age. So when do those things that I've just spoken about start to impact the person, and in which case will it affect their working lives? And the answer kind of is yes. So this is again a slide from an academic study, but what I kind of want you to notice is that actually the lines gently sort of pulling away towards my right hand side of the slide. So you can see that at about underneath there's a little line that says 5 years, and that's 5 years from the motor symptoms, the classic symptoms of HD coming into play. And you can see that processing of information, concentration, and also executive functioning, so that's the ability to pull loads of information together, starts to decline quite quickly. And of course, those are the skills that we really require to keep working. And actually, folk with HD, their brains are working really hard. I think we've said this, you know, time and time again. For us at work, gosh, multitasking is really hard, and Kirsty's just taken on a new job, and she was saying how difficult it is for her right now. But actually for folk with HD, they're running many marathons a day in order to keep up with everybody else, in order to present well at work.
Alex, we've got a question which I'm going to just bring in now so we don't forget them. From someone who's listening today. I told my employee manager about my HD. When I had my test come back positive, do you think this was the right decision?
Okay. Yes, I do. Okay, no. First of all, let me say, it really does depend on your contract and your status of employment with them, and also how you feel, your gut feel about your employer. If you feel that they are a good employer, yes, I think it's the right thing to do, because now you've told them you are protected under legislation, discrimination legislation, and it also requires your employer to make reasonable adjustments to accommodate some of the symptoms that you might experience as time goes along. So in an ideal situation, yes, I think you've done the right thing. Okay, so this is getting back to all our occupational therapy colleagues and other healthcare professional colleagues out there. But again, if you're a person with HD or you're a family member, you might want to know what the heck is done in order to try and work out what's going on for the individual with their employment. Okay, so this is about assessment. And so there are tools which are used by therapists to describe what might be happening for that person once they have been referred to a professional. And they're very much their work scales. So one of them is the World Health Organization Occupational Functioning Scale. And essentially it means it's a record of work at that particular time. So an OT comes in and they have a little look and they have a little conversation with you about what's happening for you at work, and it kind of quantifies what's going on for you, and it acts as a baseline. So then from there, if there's any deterioration, you can work out what's happened over time, but you can also say, actually, these are the areas that you or your employer needs to look at in order to enable you to return to work, in order to enable you to continue at work, and again, act as that record. Okay, so you can imagine we kind of just need to know that, because otherwise if we say, well, this and this and this and this is going on, it's not an adequate record. It's not fair to anybody. So there are a number of tools that the professional can use, and this session is not about that. This session is more a general overview. I think in our clinical tips for OTs, which is available on the HDA website, we looked at a tool which was called the Model of Human Occupation, and the assessment tools there. Again, those can be used as a starting point. For me, they're not valid and reliable enough. So what I've recommended here is that there's an add-on, which is called the HD Work Function Scale. And this came from a group of HD boffins who interviewed people and their families about what was happening for them at work. And they put this tiny little scale together, which is something like 3 or 4 questions, it's not very much, about the early warning signs at work when things are going a little bit difficult for folk with HD. And the other work function scales are fine. They're fine for musculoskeletal conditions, other types of conditions such as pain, but they're not HD specific. So if you're a practitioner, we'd recommend that you just have a little look at this. And if you guys want the links, then again, either email me or Kirsty, or get on our OT hub, or whatever you want to do. I think we're fairly easy to find, and just let us know, and we can guide you that way.